Welcome back to another review, this time for the anime Apocalypse Bringer Mynoghra. World Conquest starts with the civilization of Ruin, which had 13 episodes and was airing in summer of 2025. Synopsis from any list. Takuto Ira succumbed to illness at a young age and ended up reincarnating in a world that resembles the fantasy turn-based strategy game Eternal Nations. Not only did he reincarnate into his favorite game, but as the god who commands the evil civilization Mynoghra. With Mynoghra's beautiful hero unit, which Atto by his side, not even legendarily difficult race traits will stand in the way of restarting their civilization. Explore, expand, exploit, exterminate. So this is an isekai. As you have seen in the synopsis, our main guy Takuto, which is the guy here, is reincarnated into his favorite game, which is like a 4X strategy fantasy game. And he is the commander of the evil civilization Mynoghra. Now he has Sludge Witch Atto on his side, which is up here. And there are some concepts I like that I feel are pretty fresh in the terms of these types of shows. Generally, in anime, we don't see as much isekai kingdom building, or generally kingdom building, which is a little bit sad because there is a lot of potential we could explore here. Now, our main guy, Takuto, he's very shy because he was, I believe, bedridden for a long time, so understandable that he may not have as much social interactions. Now at his side, Sludge Witch Atto. She is a hero unit of Mynoghra, of this civilization, and pretty weak early on, but she has some abilities that can make her a powerhouse later on, we find out. However, seemingly she has knowledge of all the past gaming sessions that Takuto did in his 4X game. So she has somewhat knowledge of her past life, which is also interesting. Now, Mynoghra itself, as an evil nation, we find out, can only do diplomacy with evil aligned or neutral aligned nations, not with good aligned nations. Additionally, Mynoghra is seemingly one of the hardest nations to play in the game, which our main character liked. He liked the challenge and he was doing pretty well. Now, in this world, we see a little bit of how this world looks, where we are situated. We seemingly are somewhat hidden, and Takuto is primarily trying to keep a low profile because there are some good nations that potentially could be very dangerous if they find out that an evil nation is so close by. We also see how it works a little bit. We have like game pop-ups every now and then, which is a nice touch. We seemingly have different ways. It's like a 4X game. We have some research, we decide what buildings to build, we have resources together, decide which units to recruit or make. A lot of interesting stuff. Naturally, our main character does have this cheat ability. He's able to produce anything from the old world. However, he has to pay a mana cost for that. And mana he acquires by having people in his country and them being content or happy, essentially. The more people he gets, the more happier they are, the more mana he gets, the more he can use his ability to get whatever, be it an apple, be it, I don't know, a pen. He needs a lot of mana for that. Overall, I like the concept behind the show. Takuto, our main character, I find him understandable. he's not really a good character in my opinion. However, he's totally understandable. I can see why he is how he behaves. The Sludge Witch, understandable. She is more or less, because of her past memories, she sees our main character as like a god. Understandable that she is more or less praying or whatever to him. We also have some other characters we get introduced to very, very early on. We find some Dark Elves near the starting area and try to integrate them. We get to find out what happened to the Dark Elves. Also, very interesting idea of their history and understandably why they are here, why they behave like they do, and why the corporation works out that way. So far, there is some good stuff. Now, the biggest negative, in my opinion, is the animation. We have some fight scenes and the animation is not good. Not good at all. Which is sad, because there could be some interesting stuff. There are also some scenes one specific scene that did not make a lot of sense for me, even though they try to explain it. However, there are some aspects I really, really like. Some ideas. Now I can't really go into them too spoilery. I will go into them after the ratings though. It just feels not living up to its potential, I have to say. Maybe we get a season 2 with some better budget behind it. Maybe not. I am not sure, to be honest. I like some of the characters. There's one character later on that I like a lot, because that character it just makes sense. These characters, they make sense in the way they are. Animation and some of the little bits and pieces, I don't know. It's hard. Now, AnyList has it at 67%. My anime list at 6.69. Nice. Has a lot of people that watched it, so you know, it has that going for it. I do have a little bit of a scene. I'm not going to show too much, but you know, just to get you a little bit of the animation. There you go. I mean, that was not bad, but I would say overall it's a 7 out of 10. Again, there are some aspects I like, some ideas I would like to explore more, but I feel like it got held back by the animation and some somewhat strange decisions. Now, at this point, spoiler warning, big spoiler warning. One of the things I found very weird was the teleportation. It made like no sense. So there's a scene where there's an event taking place that more or less forces 3 people to be in attendance, and 2 people just got teleported there for seemingly no reason. Now, the story explains that this is a mandatory event, and therefore people have to be present, and stuff happens. However, it felt very weird, very random. Just, hey, we have to do this to make sense now. To that 4th event, again, spoiler. Everything here is spoiler. I like the idea, because we get introduced to our main character. He has a 4X game, and then later we learn there are the people that have different game modes or genres that are also in this world. As an example, the guy that teleports people to him for this event, he's from an RPG game. And that is why it is a scripted event. The scripted event is you defeat him and he is more or less going to explode, and one of the 3 people has to sacrifice themselves. Which is an interesting idea. We also see earlier on, you saw one of the enemies. One of the enemies has an ability that they use, and even though our character that fights this enemy evades the attack, or wants to evade the attack, they can't, because the attack automatically hits. That is the, part of the attack, and they more or less get frozen on the ground and then slashed. Which, again, is an interesting idea. Because at the beginning, we were under the assumption this is a turn-based or somewhat turn-based strategy game, management, but now we have an RPG with different abilities and rules that interfere with our 4X guy. We also see another character that seemingly is a Dungeons and Dragons tabletop player, or generally tabletop. Don't know if Dungeons and Dragons. And they roll dice. They have a character sheet that they can manipulate seemingly, and they roll dice, and if they are successful, if they roll a high number, they succeed. Another system in the same world that interacts differently, which is going to be interesting whenever these systems clash. Additionally, we see a different character pretty late. He doesn't get introduced a lot, but he's like, oh, God told me to come here. Additionally, the RPG guy also said that a girl told him to come here. And the girl said that there is a game master who brought her here. Now, for me, that seems like there are different gods that all brought these people here. Which means this could be like a little game. You choose your hero, you reincarnate him, and you have like 7 gods that do the same and just set their heroes onto each other and see what carnage ensues. Overall, I like the concept. The concept is really interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff you can do. It just got held back a little bit, which is very sad.